My daughter publicly shamed me for being a fake mom, so I stopped trying. A year later, she was begging me to save her from the man she replaced me with. When I was 32, my husband left me for his other family. Before leaving, he told our daughter Ellie, who had autism, that his other daughter was better than her and easier to deal with. That's why he was leaving. In the aftermath, Ellie broke down. She convinced herself she was worthless, began hardly speaking to me, and spent all her time alone. I tried everything: therapy, quiet evenings, her favorite video games, but nothing seemed to reach her. Then one evening, while scrolling online, I found a blog that instantly caught my attention. It was anonymous, but the stories matched Ellie perfectly. Her struggles at school, how lonely she felt, even the way she described her relationship with her mom. Reading her posts broke my heart, but the worst part was seeing how she described me: detached, uncaring, unable to listen. That night I sat awake for hours. I couldn't confront her. She would shut down completely. So instead, I came up with a plan. I created an online profile, posing as an older woman named Caroline. Caroline was compassionate, kind, wise. I started commenting on her blog posts. At first, just supportive words, gentle encouragement, telling her that her feelings were valid and that someone was always there to listen. To my surprise, Ellie responded. She poured her heart out to Caroline, sharing her fears and secrets, things she'd never said to me. Weeks passed, then months. Ellie's confidence grew. She started participating more in school, made new friends, and seemed genuinely happier. At home, she was still quiet around me, but at least I saw her smiling more often. In her blog, she openly praised Caroline, crediting her for this newfound confidence. It hurt a little, but I swallowed my pride. If Ellie was happy, that was enough. Then one evening, everything unraveled. Ellie published a post that quickly went viral at her school and our neighborhood. She openly declared Caroline to be the mother figure she'd always dreamed of. Ellie described in vivid detail how Caroline understood her in ways her real mom never could. Reading it felt like being punched. Her words painted me as distant and uncaring. Everyone we knew read it. My phone buzzed nonstop with messages. I had to talk to Ellie. The truth was painful, but surely she'd understand why I'd done it. I knocked on her door and sat beside her bed. She barely looked up, but I pushed through. I confessed everything, explained why I'd created Caroline, and how desperate I'd been to connect with her. Ellie stared at me blankly at first, processing the confession. Then her face twisted. She stood abruptly, backing away from me. She accused me of lying, manipulating, and violating her trust. Her voice rose as she told me she'd shared things with Caroline she'd never intended me to know. She screamed that I'd proven exactly why she could never trust me. Then, on her 18th birthday, she packed her things and left. She blocked me on every platform, ignored my texts, and refused all my calls. Until 1 year later, after I'd accepted she wasn't coming back to me, she called. She told me someone at college was bullying, and she desperately needed Caroline's help. Maybe I should have thought about it first, but my mother's instinct kicked in, and I drove to her campus immediately. The 3-hour drive to her campus felt both endless and too short. I rehearsed what to say, how to react, whether to hug her or keep my distance. The GPS guided me through unfamiliar streets as my mind raced with possibilities. Was she really in trouble, or was this some elaborate payback? Did she genuinely want my help, or was she setting me up for rejection again? I stopped for coffee halfway there, my hands shaking so badly I spilled some on my shirt. I didn't bother changing. Getting to Ellie was all that mattered. The campus was beautiful in the early evening light. It should have felt peaceful, but my anxiety only intensified as I parked and texted Ellie that I had arrived. When I arrived at her dorm, Ellie was waiting outside, arms wrapped tightly around herself. She looked thinner, exhausted, with dark circles under her eyes. I didn't think you'd actually come, she said, not quite meeting my gaze. Of course I came, I replied, resisting the urge to pull her into a hug. You needed help. Her hair was different, shorter, with faded blue tips that hadn't been refreshed in weeks. She wore an oversized hoodie despite the warm evening, sleeves pulled down over her hands in a defensive posture I recognized from her childhood. Her skin looked pale under the harsh exterior lighting of the dormitory, making the dark circles under her eyes even more pronounced. She was thinner than I remembered, her cheekbones more prominent, her wrists looking fragile where they peeked out from her sleeves. She led me to a nearby coffee shop where we sat in awkward silence until she finally spoke. There's this guy, Tyler. We were dating, but when I tried to break it up, he started spreading rumors. Her fingers twisted nervously around her cup. He told everyone about my autism, about my meltdowns. He makes these cruel imitations of me in front of everyone. The coffee shop buzzed with typical evening activity. Students typing furiously on laptops, friends chatting over steaming mugs, baristas calling out complicated drink orders. The normalcy of the scene contrasted sharply with the tension at our small corner